Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something really interesting, this idea that there might be a sort of hidden part of ourselves, like a room in our minds where we lock away feelings that are uncomfortable, anger especially.
hmm
Just picture that for a second. A closed door inside your own head. Maybe not like totally sealed, but definitely locked up. What do you imagine is back there?
That image, the locked room, it's really evocative, isn't it? It points to that very human thing we do, trying to contain what feels, well, overwhelming
Hmm.
or maybe unacceptable.
Yeah.
You start thinking, again, how much energy does it take just to keep that door shut?
Yeah.
And what happens if it starts to open?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, imagine you're standing right there in front of your door. What comes up for you? Is it curiosity, like you really want to know what's inside?
Or maybe some nervousness?
Or maybe nervousness, yeah, kind of hesitation, like you don't really want to get too close.
hmm
Or maybe even this really strong feeling that, nope, whatever's in there, best left alone. Those first reactions, I think they can tell us quite a bit.
Oh, they really can.
Yeah.
That immediate feeling often hints at some kind of internal struggle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's maybe a part of you that knows something's hidden,
Uh-huh.
and then there's another part that feels, well, threatened by the idea of actually looking at it.
Yeah.
That kind of push and pull, it often traces back to how we first learned to handle our feelings way back.
Thinking about, being a kid, it's funny how fast we pick up on which emotions are okay to show and which ones definitely aren't. Anger seems to be a big one that gets the bad label pretty quick.
Definitely.
We hear, calm down, don't be upset, or, we might even get told off for showing it. Those early lessons can really, really stick with us, shaping how we deal with anger later on.
Absolutely. Those messages, they can get so deeply embedded, they become like these unconscious rules we live by.
Yeah.
And when we keep pushing anger down again and again, well, it doesn't just vanish.
Right.
It's still there inside us, maybe looking for other ways to make itself known.
It's almost like if you were to listen really closely to that locked room in your mind, you might hear something, like a faint noise, a sort of rhythmic thumping.
Mhm.
At first, maybe you'd barely notice it, brush it off, but the longer you listen, maybe it gets a bit clearer, like a muffled banging or just this steady pulse underneath everything.
That persistent thudding.
Yeah.
That's a really compelling way to think about it. It could absolutely represent the unconscious trying to get a message through, that suppressed energy searching for some kind of release.
Yeah.
It's that tension, isn't it, between wanting to actually acknowledge what's behind the door and being really apprehensive about what might happen if we actually do. It's a very, very human spot to be in.
It really is. And when you think about how we manage all this internal stuff, it feels like there's this part of us that's always trying to keep the peace, keep things balanced, under control.
Like an internal referee.
Yeah, exactly. Like a referee making sure we don't get overwhelmed by our own feelings or clash too much with the world outside.
That internal referee, often called the ego in psychoanalytic terms, it has that crucial job, mediating between our inner drives, our desires, and what the outside world demands.
Right.
And one of its main tactics is to push those uncomfortable, unacceptable feelings out of our conscious awareness. It's trying to protect us, essentially.
Sure.
But while that might work in the moment, it can definitely have consequences down the line.
It's like trying to hold down a beach ball underwater, isn't it? You can do it for a bit, but eventually it's going to pop up somewhere else.
That's a great analogy.
And we see little signs of this, don't we? That sudden, sharp comment we didn't mean to make, or that feeling of being kind of prickly, on edge, but not really knowing why. Or even physical things, like suddenly realizing your jaw is clenched tight.
Yes.
It's like the unconscious is sending out these signals, but maybe in a language we don't quite understand yet.
Those seemingly small things, the reactions, the physical symptoms, they can often be exactly that. Indirect expressions of these buried, unacknowledged feelings. Because maybe a direct outburst feels too risky, too unacceptable. So the anger finds these other routes, these more subtle pathways, and the fact that your image of the door wasn't totally sealed suggests that complete suppression is probably impossible. Something always leaks out.
So who's holding the key to this room, then? Is it that inner critic, the voice telling us how we should be, judging our feelings?
That's definitely part of it.
Or is it the part of us that's just, scared? Scared of losing control if we actually let those feelings out? It's probably different for everyone, I guess.
The internal critic, the one shaped by all those early rules and expectations, it certainly plays a huge role in keeping that door bolted. But yeah, the fear of what might be unleashed, the potential chaos, the destabilization, That's a powerful lock, too.
Holding on to that key, though, it must take a lot of energy, right? Just this constant, maybe unconscious effort.
It really does. It must be exhausting on some level. All that mental energy poured into just keeping those feelings contained.
Yeah, energy that could maybe go somewhere else. Into, I don't know, creativity or better relationships or just feeling a bit more peaceful inside.
Precisely. That constant guarding that vigilant suppression requires, it can be incredibly draining. And again,
Yeah.
standing there before that imagined locked room, it can stir up such a mix, can't it? That longing to be free of whatever's trapped inside, but also a real genuine fear of confronting it.
That push and pull is so intense. The idea of finally letting ourselves feel that anger, really express it. What would that even look like? We're so often taught anger is just destructive, but could there also be maybe a release in it? Maybe even, I don't know, transformation if we acknowledge it. And then there's all the guilt, the shame that often gets tangled up with feeling angry in the first place.
It's true. Society often paints anger with a very negative brush, something to just avoid entirely. But anger itself, like any basic human emotion, isn't inherently good or bad. It's how we express it and the context around it that shapes its impact. Pushing it down doesn't make it go away, it just forces it underground. And down there, it can twist into potentially more harmful forms.
And this whole idea of a locked room, it so creates this barrier inside us, doesn't it? Between what we know we feel, our conscious mind, and those deeper, maybe unconscious feelings. By keeping the door shut, we maintain a kind of control, a familiar state, even if it's maybe a bit limiting.
But it's a fragile stability, isn't it?
Yeah, fragile is a good word.
Yeah.
Because whatever's inside, it's still influencing us, right? Even if we aren't consciously thinking about it.
Absolutely. That boundary is, it's rarely completely solid. The stuff in the unconscious, it has a way of coloring our thoughts, our actions, our relationships. Have you ever noticed yourself, having a massive reaction to something that seems pretty minor?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or maybe finding yourself pulling away from people, but you can't quite put your finger on why? Those kinds of patterns often have roots in these buried, unresolved conflicts.
It makes you think about those times when, yeah, your reaction feels totally out of proportion to what actually happened. Like something tiny sets off this huge internal explosion. Maybe that's a sign of all that locked up stuff finally finding a little crack to get out through.
Exactly. And it can show up in other ways, too. Think about when we find ourselves being really critical of someone else for traits that, if we're honest, we kind of dislike in ourselves.
Oof. Yeah. Projection.
That could be another way that unconscious material tries to find expression, or even when we turn that anger back on ourselves.
Right. Blaming ourselves, feeling like we're never good enough, that constant sense of inadequacy, that internalized anger can have some serious emotional costs. And physical ones, too, sometimes.
The mind-body connection there is profound. When emotions don't get psychological expression, they can often find a physical outlet. And it's interesting, too, how some people manage to channel this suppressed energy in ways that are, more socially okay.
Like intense exercise or maybe pouring it into work or art.
Precisely. Through intense physical activity, creative pursuits, ways to let off steam, essentially.
That idea of finding healthy outlets is key, for sure. But even then, you sometimes wonder if the core feeling is really being dealt with or just redirected,
That's a crucial question.
And for people who maybe don't have those kinds of outlets, it feels like they can get really stuck in patterns of either acting out, maybe getting into trouble, or just completely shutting down emotionally.
That's a critical point.
Yeah.
Without healthy ways to acknowledge and actually process these feelings, suppressed aggression can really fuel cycles of unhealthy behavior. So when we come back to that image of the locked room, it really does hold both potential danger and a huge opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
The risk is in facing these powerful, maybe scary emotions. But the potential for deeper self-understanding, for more genuine well-being, that's immense too.
That duality really hits home. It makes total sense to feel nervous about opening that door, about facing whatever's been buried. But the alternative, just living with that constant low-level hum of tension, that takes a toll too. So maybe the goal isn't to just get rid of anger entirely, which might not even be possible or even healthy. It's more about understanding it. Where does it come from? What's it trying to tell us? How does it shape our lives?
Precisely. It's about integration, not eradication. Before we shift gears, just take another moment with that image, the locked room in your own mind. Notice any sensations, any feelings that come up now. That response, even now, can offer valuable clues about your own relationship with this hidden anger.
Okay, so now imagine you're back in front of that locked door.
Hmm.
But this time, you're not just standing there wondering. You fall asleep and you have a dream.
Okay.
And in this dream, the door, it's not just slightly open anymore. It starts to swing open slowly by itself, like it has its own intention. And there's this feeling of anticipation, maybe a bit of fear too, about finally seeing what you've kept hidden for so long.
That detail in the dream, the door opening seemingly on its own, that could symbolize a kind of shift happening inside you. A point where the unconscious is maybe becoming more ready or insistent about revealing something important.
Yeah.
Dreams often give us this symbolic space, don't they?
Yeah.
Where we can meet emotions, experiences that might feel just too much, too threatening to face head on when we're awake.
And as the door swings wider in the dream, you see a child
Yeah.
in the corner of the room. And you recognize them. It's you, but you're much, much younger.
Huh.
And this child version of you is just pounding their fists against the walls. And the sound, it's not just something you hear, it's like you feel it deep in your chest. It's not a simple tantrum. It feels like this profound, raw agony and frustration.
Wow. That image of the child is incredibly powerful. It could absolutely represent those very, or maybe unacknowledged feelings.
Yeah.
The parts of yourself that perhaps felt unheard, unseen, pushed aside. The sheer intensity of the child's fury, as you describe it, it speaks to the depth, the purity maybe, of those original emotional experiences before we learn to control or hide them.
And then in the dream, the child suddenly stops pounding. They turn and look right at you, and they don't say anything, but the question in their eyes is just crystal clear. Why did you leave me here?
Oh.
It's a really heavy moment. It brings up this whole idea of having to maybe abandon parts of ourselves, disown certain feelings or reactions, perhaps to fit in or to get approval or just to cope.
That silent question.
Right.
Why did you leave me here?
That can hit really hard.
It speaks directly to that process of internalizing what others expect, their judgments, the ways we learn to suppress bits of ourselves that were maybe labeled unacceptable. And this can lead to feeling disconnected, can't it? Disconnected from our own real, authentic experience and emotions, like a part of us got left behind.
And then, still in the dream, a key appears in your hand. It's small, maybe a bit old and tarnished, but you know it's important. And holding it brings this rush of conflicting feelings, this strong urge to use it to unlock the door fully, connect with that child, but also this wave of like serious apprehension. What happens if you do? Will everything just fall apart? Will it be too much?
The key showing up in your hand in the dream, that's a potent symbol of agency, isn't it? The potential for conscious choice, for taking action, and that internal conflict you feel, right? Then the urge versus the fear. It perfectly mirrors that real-life tension.
Yeah.
The tension between wanting healing, wanting integration, and being afraid of upsetting the status quo, disrupting those old patterns, even if those patterns aren't really serving us anymore.
So you take a breath, put the key in the lock, and as you slowly turn it, the door clicks open fully. And the child, they stop looking angry. Their expression changes. It becomes curious. And then they reach out a small hand towards you, and you take it. And there's this feeling of warmth, of connection, it feels like a reconciliation, like bringing a lost part of yourself back home.
That moment of connection in the dream, taking the child's hand, it's deeply symbolic, isn't it? It points towards integration, the conscious self reuniting with those parts of the psyche that were previously pushed away, disowned.
Right.
It suggests a movement towards wholeness.
Right.
A place where those intense early emotions can finally be acknowledged, maybe understood, instead of just staying locked away and causing trouble from behind the door.
The dream fades then, but that feeling lingers, that feeling of connection, of holding that child's hand, and you start to think, maybe this locked room isn't just a dream metaphor. Maybe it shows up in my actual life.
How so?
Well, in those relationships that feel strained for no clear reason, or those unspoken tensions you feel with people, those significant silences where things feel unsaid, the dream suddenly feels like it could be a kind of map pointing towards where some of these real-life conflicts might actually be rooted.
Dreams can absolutely offer us incredibly valuable metaphors, insights into our inner world. They can shine a light on patterns, on conflicts that we might be totally unaware of in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
However, and this is important, understanding these patterns, having the insight, that's often just the first step. It's the beginning of a much longer process of actually making changes.
Right. Just knowing isn't enough. Insight alone doesn't magically fix things. It takes, like, real work, doesn't it? A commitment to keep exploring those deeper layers, even when it's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And there's also the sense that this isn't a one and done kind of deal. It's not like you unlock the room and you're cured forever. Old habits, old defenses, they can definitely pop back up. It feels more like an ongoing journey of self-awareness.
Absolutely. The path towards greater self-understanding, towards integration, it's rarely just a straight line. There will definitely be times when those old familiar ways of coping seem easier, more comfortable, and the urge to kind of retreat back behind the door might be really strong. It takes conscious effort, real intention, to stay engaged with these deeper parts of ourselves.
And it makes you think, too, about how all this affects our relationships with other people. If we're constantly pushing down our own anger, it has to leak out somewhere, right? Even indirectly, maybe through being overly critical or maybe just emotionally withdrawing, pulling away. But if we could actually acknowledge and start to integrate those feelings, maybe that could lead to much healthier connections, more honest ones.
Yeah, definitely. By moving toward the better understanding and acceptance of our own emotional landscape, including anger, we can start to move beyond those old patterns of maybe projecting our stuff onto others or just withdrawing when things get tough.
Yeah.
And that opens up the possibility for more genuine intimacy, real connection, because we're not just reacting automatically from those unresolved internal conflicts anymore. We have more choice.
So as we kind of wrap up this exploration, I'm definitely left thinking about my own potential locked room, and maybe you listening are too. What might actually be behind that door for each of us? And what might happen if we were willing to, gently, carefully start exploring what's inside?
That act of just reflecting, just considering the possibility of these hidden aspects within ourselves, that in itself is a really significant step. There aren't any easy, quick answers in this kind of deep dive, are there?
No.
There's really just the continuous dialogue, the dialogue between our conscious and unconscious selves, and also between our inner world and how we connect with others. It's an ongoing process.
It truly is a continuous journey of discovery, really. Thanks for exploring this with me today.